Well, welcome. I'm Dr. DrRademaker, prescription for your transformation, and hashtag real people, hashtag real conversations. And this platform really, which is phenomenal with Blab and all the other social media platforms, is an incredible opportunity to tap into that intelligence that's all around us. And so it's our opportunity to grow. It's our opportunity to create, and it's our opportunity to manage a much better world perspective, if you will, when we can actually tap into that intelligence. So it's really up to us to make sure that we actually do tap into that intelligence, and it's right there for us. Billions of people around the world with brilliant ideas. You don't have to be a Nobel Peace Prize winner or some guy that's written all the best books in the world. There are so many people out there with incredible voices that we all want to reach out to and listen to, so that we can make some of the changes that we want to make in our life. And so that's why I'm really excited today to be talking to Mitchell Stefko, based in San Francisco, California, a conscious entrepreneur, founder of Leaders Mastermind. And what impresses me most, he is a Silicon Valley high growth expert, helping 150 CEOs from major companies raise over $5 billion so that they can achieve their dreams. So welcome, Mitchell. Welcome to my Blab here today.
Hey, Bart, it's very cool to be on this new technology. And from what I've seen with Periscope and other things, I think Blab is going to be awesome. So happy to be here with you and to learn more about it.
Yeah, and you're very much a tech kind of guy, and so you do appreciate technology. And this has really totally democratized the ability to spread information and to get information that's real time, without all the kinds of filters out there like the media or newspapers or anything else. And so that's what it's exciting. And for me, to have you on this event, this session right here, so that people get to hear your genius, because you've created some magnificent things that I've actually personally experienced as well. And so today is a talk that's very dear to you, and it's really about conscious leadership. And so please define, for any listener that's listening in now or listening in later on, what is that really, and how do you look to see that be the change in the world that we want to see in the future?
Well, I appreciate it, Bart. There's a lot of definitions of consciousness and conscious leadership out there, and a lot of terms being used, everything from wisdom to mindfulness to consciousness. And all of them are about being committed to being fully present with high emotional intelligence, intuitive intelligence, and I think the field intelligence, or that you call it the system. I've heard it called the system intelligence, be called spiritual intelligence for those people that have a spiritual set of beliefs. And it's about having a deeper connection with yourself and others, and serving a higher purpose with the business and with all the stakeholders. So up till recently, most business models of capitalism and leadership have been based almost on kind of a militaristic type of leadership, where you've got a CEO and you've got a bunch of lieutenants below, and then there's everybody else. Mm-hmm. And this is the model is kind of pivoted on its ear, more toward what has also been called in literature a servant leadership model, where the leader is really focused on how can I empower and serve the organization and its goals at their best level, and how can I? It's also a radical ownership of responsibility for the organization. So I have not yet seen a great simple one sentence definition of conscious leadership. The closest I've come to it is a conscious leader is someone who is here now, accessing multiple intelligences and serving a higher purpose for all stakeholders. So that's my closest I've gotten yet to one sentence. And when I read books like Conscious Capitalism, when I have talks with John Mackey, again, they spend several paragraphs even trying to get their arms around this. So I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this. Is still a new and evolving field, and how you really truly define it depends. It's through the lens or filter of whoever's talking about it.
So I guess to simplify it for me, and in terms that make really good sense, because it's a very complex situation. But in a sense, if we look at the evolution of industry, I mean, we're really just very fresh in our technology, only like 200 years with the whole industrial revolution, the invention of the steam engine, and then the cars, and then following that internet and everything else. And so at some given point, much of business was really, in essence, a very egocentric enterprise. It was really, designed to take care of a very small entity and a very small group of people. Yes, delivering services for others, but it's almost like in a major way, in essence, they could, function independently and could very well survive. But now with such expansion of the population and such integration of all different technologies, and also with greater limitations of what's available in our environments, it's now become, quintessential for the survival of any kind of business to understand its effect on a global scene. And so rather than staying in that egocentric space, now everything that we do has such a massive impact that we cannot ignore it. And as long as we ignore it, then it's going to cause all sorts of problems.
Well, you take the example of a large oil company. Most large oil companies are public corporations. Their CEO must, according to the corporate charter and the articles and bylaws, maximize profit.
Right.
That anything apart from that single value of maximizing profit, that CEO can not only be fired, they can even face certain kind of penalties if they're not doing that type of that ultimate profit optimization. So now you hear about triple bottom line, which has been around for a while, which is people, planet, and profits. So what are you doing that are good for the people, both in the organization and the people who are your customers? What are the good that you're doing for the planet, and what's the environmental cost or net plus of you as an organization, and what are your profits? And a new generation of companies, and part of it's being forced by regulation. Part of it is being stimulated by the fact that, hey, we've got a major candidate for president right now who's an avowed socialist. So capitalism either has to kind of progress and evolve, or it could potentially be threatened. The very life of capitalism itself is under threat right now.
So what do you think? You mentioned the need to make profits. Okay, so what's the challenge? What's the block? Why is it difficult for people to embrace this whole concept? And is it difficult for people to embrace this concept of conscious leadership? Is it because the fear of scarcity, the fear of not having enough? Is it like, an issue with personal ego where that has to be pushed forward at all costs? I mean, what is it?
Well, I think it depends on the size and the scale of the organization and who is involved. Most companies have investors of size, and investors are typically looking for a pure financial return. So if let's say you're a private equity fund and you buy a company and you decide you could make another 20% to the bottom line by taking all the manufacturing and taking that to China from good paying jobs in the United States, that's a decision that's easy for a financial investor to make. Now, we aren't looking at the micro impact of all those people that worked in helping to build that company, who should have some stake in what ultimately happens because they helped it get there. And we're not looking at the bigger macro issue of, is it a good thing for a country to have lots of manufacturing? I would argue yes. But if you look at the evaporation of the middle class, it's largely because of the fact that we've evaporated so many high-paying manufacturing jobs. A lot of things have become automated and don't need a high-paying person to do it anymore. And then also you have factors like that people are not being retrained toward the high-paying jobs of the future. So we've got this aging workforce of the baby boomers, lots of 40 and 50-somethings who might have made a great job. Like my dad was a great carpenter, and he made $65,000 a year in 1980s dollars, which is a really good living. Well, a lot of those high-quality carpentry jobs are gone because a lot of those are being done by folks that have come from across the border that are willing to do it for 20 or 15 an hour. So that middle class job, that middle class construction job is all but gone unless you're in the heavily union protected areas. I
And
can't find it. I can't find a house in San Francisco where the construction is being done by licensed journeyman contractors.
and now, of course, what's happening with three-dimensional printing? That's going to totally change the whole
Three-dimensional
environment.
printing could off displace half a billion jobs.
Right. So then the question that you really want to start asking, which is not part of this session today, but at some point, do we have to rethink, what our purpose in life is? I mean, is our purpose in life really to be working, 9 to 5? Some people working basically at 6 to 10 p.m., 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, you have those crazy people like myself that never stop working. So, I mean, are we going to have to, as a society, as a culture, as a whole world, if you will, are we going to have to start rethinking? And I don't mean in socialistic forms, because I don't believe that has really sustainability. But
yeah, my wife's from Russia, and those models, Russia is collapsing right now because they only have one viable economy, and it's the oil economy. And without that, the country is literally collapsing right now.
Right. So in other words, it's also like as I always like to frame it, it's an individual revolution where we need to, evolve to space, to a place, which I'm not exactly sure how we can define it at this point. And that's going to lead me to my next question. But something needs to happen, and it can't be happening in a place where you have larger entities that control everything. And what I mean by that is either companies, institutions, or governments, because they are not equipped to really make the best decision for the individual. In general terms, it may make sense, in logical sense, but it really isn't. And this obviously is not a political conversation anyhow, but just as the human experience, I know that we are our happiest when we get to master our own life and master our own destiny, and also be in that creative space. So looking at creating that space, you talk about masterminding, and how does that work in your opinion, as far as conscious leadership and masterminding, and the purpose of that as well?
Well, first, let me address, if it's okay, the migration path, because we are seeing migration, and it is happening at the government level. I think it's an incredibly conscious thing for 190 countries to get together and decide, hey, we need to make sure that the environment is looked at by all of us. So that's an extraordinary milestone. I've just never seen in my lifetime 190 countries in this world get together on anything. So there is a rising governmental consciousness about things like the environment. There does seem to be, I saw a stat that there's less war now than any time in history. And a lot of smart people ascribe that to the fact that we have so much economic interdependency now, that this economic interdependency, it kind of trumps our small disagreements and getting into wars with each other. So, and I see big corporations such as Google and Airbnb and LinkedIn that have decided at the very highest level they are going to act more consciously with all their employees, with all their customers, with everybody they work with, even though it has a bottom line effect on profits. Now, for these social companies, the social media companies, most of them are immensely profitable, so they're able to do that.
Right.
But there is a movement at the big company level, and I'm seeing it happen, right before our very eyes, and this is kind of shocking to me. So I really believe that conscious leadership is. I was lucky enough to see the first wave of the internet back in 95 and 96, and was very actively involved all the way back to 96 in the internet movement. And I believe the conscious leadership wave is going to be similar to that, in that because the majority of employees now in the workforce are millennials for the first time ever. I think they're 36% of the workforce. So they're the largest part. And what I'm hearing from the hiring managers at the Facebooks and LinkedIn's and Google's of the world is these millennials insist that their company is doing something that serves a higher purpose, that they do have very robust consciousness about how employees are treated, that they do have robust consciousness about how customers and the environment are treated. So if you want to even be a successful employer 5-10 years from now, you're not going to get those best millennials unless they see you're serving a higher good. And people are going like, well, how does Google serve a higher good? And it's a search engine and they do advertisements, but Google has plowed hundreds of millions, maybe billions at this point, into things like free Wi-Fi worldwide, and they've got a meatless, a meat that grows generically that's kind of nano created. So Google has invested unbelievable amounts of money into things that have nothing to do with search, that all make the world a better place. So if employees at Google we help people find stuff and we get paid for doing that by advertising, the find stuff is a nice higher purpose, but the paid by advertising, most people would kind of go, But Google also spends a lot of time promoting all these other projects that they're doing for global social good. I mean, free Wi-Fi for everybody in the world. That's pretty awesome.
That's pretty amazing.
That's what they're working on.
So how does the masterminding work?
Well, the mastermind is a 100-year-old concept. It's really thousands of years old in its earliest term, which is to just have a group of folks together, well-intentioned, well-meaning folks that want to help support each other in what they're doing. And that could be in the business context. It could be relationship. It could be social. It could be whatever you want it. We've been involved a lot with business masterminding, and that's roots were in Napoleon Hill, who was hired by Carnegie back in the 1920s to study all the great business leaders and see what they were doing. So he wanted to share that success with the world. And one of the things he found is that at the private clubs that were then, primarily men only, it was 100 years ago, you'd have a steel guy sitting with a car guy, sitting with a train guy, sitting with an agriculture guy, and they're all comparing best practices from their industries. But in addition to that, they even literally create what my partner Robert Dilts calls a field effect, where it's kind of the 1 + 1 = something magical. Things, if you collaborate with others, and that's why so much of business now is moving toward team collaborations, you get kind of this energy of possibilities is created. It's why a small team of 10 or 20 people, which Tesla once was, can compete against Ford and GM and companies like that. And
I liken the term generative collaboration, and because it really generates new things, better things. And you're absolutely right. When you create this field, but not only just that, just the fact that you're having different conversations, different perspectives, different voices, what actually then inspires the brain to do is you're making new connections in the brain. And at that point, and that's called that neuroplasticity. And with that, what then happens is that you are able to create new ideas from different ideas or different perspectives that you couldn't otherwise do on your own. And I notice this all the time because I'm in a very creative space all the time. And when I come across something new, or I hear a new concept or a new perspective, it suddenly launches me into a whole new space that I didn't know was available beforehand. And that's what I love about this whole masterminding, because the other part that I like about it, and the way that I also like to frame it, when you make success easy, success leads to more success. Mm-hmm. For a lot of different reasons. If you just focus on the psychological ones, where you have that confidence, you have the empowerment, and you have the faith to move forward. And where does success easily come from is modeling other people's success, seeing what other people are doing successfully, even if it's a different, type of business or different kind of environment. What actually does work in one business or a different environment can actually apply to the environment or business that you're in as well. And without knowing that possibility, you're not going to have that opportunity to apply it in your own business. And so that's what's great about masterminding in that respect. And I love what you're doing. I mean, you're brilliant at this, at getting people together and getting people to hear these new ideas and new voices, and have created massive change in a lot of people. And I think that's remarkable. And I really appreciate you doing that as well, by the way.
Well, I appreciate it, Bart. And again, what you also have, the other generativity is generative belief. And when people see other people firsthand do something, I mean, in our mastermind group that we have, the Conscious Leaders Mastermind at consciousleadersmastermind.com, we've had people like John Gray, who's written, 25, 30 books. And John had a block. He shared this in his testimony, so I can talk about it, where he was stuck on his book. And then he got unstuck from a weekend in our group, finished a book he hadn't been able to finish in 2 years and a month, and got it out. Well, since John did that, we've had now 4 other people in our group come out with books as first-time authors. and a bunch, and we probably, and I've heard that probably 5 others, including you, are going to come out with books this year. So that whole idea of, well, of course we can do a book, where for some people the idea of a book is just absolutely overwhelming. Now it's like, I don't know anybody in our group that doesn't plan on kicking out a book in the next year to 2 years. So it's that field of possibilities, or that generative field. And it's also, I think the other beauty of a mastermind is that there are other people that can just see things that we can't. We always see things through our own filters and perspectives. And I've been in a mastermind trio for 3 years now, and those 3 people have got my back no matter what I do. And they're also able to come up to me if they think I'm way out of line on something, and sort of ask questions or make comments without judgment, that it's a very safe space. So, I mean, to me, anybody that isn't in a mastermind of some kind, whether you just form it yourself or with greater structure like ours, you're wasting an unbelievable resource that's been proven for 100 years to accelerate your growth and your ultimate impact and success, however you define success and impact.
Yeah. And I think your point is very well taken, what you said earlier about getting that feedback, because I also work with a phenomenal group of individuals, they're coaches, and we mastermind all the time. And it's just absolutely wonderful, where we've actually created the space where we are allowed to be witnessed. And what I mean by that, where we allow ourselves to own our own truths, own our own faults and weaknesses, and be vulnerable in that space where we could be criticized. And this is the big fear that most people have, is that they're not willing to share or tell anybody, their own weaknesses or the faults. They're scared that certain people will know certain things, so they keep quiet. They are in denial themselves. And unfortunately, what that does really stops you from growing and creating the generative opportunities that you're going to want in life. And so being in that mastermind, having that safety, having that container where you can be honest with yourself and others, and have people, notice these blind spots, I think is really critical, because our worst enemy oftentimes is our own self-criticism that prevents us from moving forward. And it's the same thing with my own experience, my own book, 52-Week Success Plan, that came out last month, and it's a bestseller. And what was interesting, for a very long time, I would not be writing, because I was thinking to myself, well, what's going to happen? People are going to criticize this. People that I respect are going to look at this and they say, this is not really good enough. A whole different variety of stories were coming up, and that really slowed me down. But finally, I met the group and said, hey, you can do this. It's just like running the 4-minute mile. Once somebody can do it, now everyone can do it. I knew I could do it. But also, more importantly, I was able to tap into some resources that really made the difference. And again, it's, as we talk in the group, with Robert Dilts, Modeling Geniuses, the group that you created, one of the key points of genius is to get the support from others.
Absolutely. And, and even in the safety of a group, it's still, you have to hold space for stuff, because a lot of things, as you know, with the conscious and unconscious, we're only conscious about 5% of our programs. The other 95% are lurking below the surface.
Right.
And that's what makes our group so unique and different. Is I've got Robert Dilts and my wife, Olga Stevko. Dr. Stevko are 2 of the top leaders of all, that I've ever met or seen at identifying and bringing things into your awareness and into your consciousness. Just bringing something from the unconscious to the conscious starts to do a lot of the work on its own. But we also have all the transformation processes that help get you through that, to integrate it, to heal it, to clear it, whatever it is you need to do to move to the next level. And it's very difficult, even for great NLP masters, like, which I consider Robert and my wife to both be. I think I'm a aspiring NLP master. It's very hard to do this work on yourself.
Right.
It's almost always infinitely better to have a guide leading you through it.
And I'm also very privileged, because you and Olga, Dr. Olga Stevko, are the founding members of a new type of medicine, which is belief medicine. And I'm very excited to see, how that's going to develop. And again, from my perspective, as we talk about, living in an intelligent universe, then you start talking about brain intelligence, body intelligence, and energy intelligence. And really, the brain intelligence is what it's really all about: beliefs. It's belief medicine and how that can totally change things. And reading the book Biology of Belief, of course, and I know you're very familiar with the author and friends with the author. How pretty much 90%, I believe that's the correct number, of what affects our cells is our beliefs. And when you start looking at your life and your own personal human experience, it's the beliefs that we really can focus on more than anything else to be able to change, our experience in this world as well.
Yep, and most of us aren't even truly aware of what our top beliefs or even what our top values programs are. I mean, values are obviously a combination of certain beliefs. Most of these we've realized were formed very early in life, and now with what they're finding with genetic memory, and mice and rat studies are proving this, is that genetic memory and therefore genetic beliefs can now be passed many generations. So you may have an unconscious fear of something. Maybe it's fear of being alone or fear of being unsafe because something bad happened to your great-great-grandmother. And it'd be very difficult for you to even have an awareness of what that is without working with very advanced people that could identify that. That's one of my wife's true geniuses, is often she's seen a couple thousand people now individually. So she sees the patterns like boom, like that. And in 20 minutes are telling people about themselves in ways that they're shocked. And people resonate and they hear it like, wow, that's me. And B, how in the world did you know all that stuff?
Right. That's pretty amazing. So one of the things that we were talking about beforehand is being consistent and persistent with the work so that you can achieve. So share with me something about that. But before I answer that question, if people want to hear more about you, I mean, where can they go to?
We have a couple different websites up. We do not have the one for belief medicine up. We'll have that up hopefully in second quarter. But to learn more about conscious leadership, the best place to go is consciouslm.com. That's consciouslm.com, which stands for Conscious Leaders Mastermind. We're going to start doing a webinar series shortly, interviewing some of the top conscious leaders on the planet, both thought leaders and men and women that are actually run businesses and are applying conscious practices, and also be doing a lot more article writing through LinkedIn. But if you sign in and get on the email list there, you'll get access to all the work that we've got rolling out in the future.
Awesome. So I just went ahead and put the website down. Is that correct?
I see it, and it's spelled right. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I actually first misspelled it and I got it right. So cool. So yeah, getting back to the question I just had earlier, this persistence and consistency to get the results. Share a little bit about that, what you mean by that.
Well, I think the first thing is that we talk about in conscious leadership is your own state and optimal state management. If you're in a bad state, emotional state, if you're constantly getting triggered, if you're not fully present, if you're trying to multitask, which is the greatest business lie of the 20th century, is multitasking. They're now proving with neuroscience you literally cannot multitask. It's about giving the gift of your presence and your focus and attention and awareness of yourself and getting a deeper sense of yourself, and also higher emotional intelligence. So the very first thing is to have some strategy, whether it's mindfulness, meditation. We use a practice called Coach State that Bart's very aware of. Bart's done energy medicine training and work, so that can get you in a state where you feel grounded, centered, connected to yourself and others, and get you moving forward in the world. And also to realize when you're not in that state, because it really is binary. We do measure in our group, we ask people like, well, what's your level of coach on an average? But I mean, I can go in the morning from being a 10 and somebody might drop me, or some thought could drop me right away from a 2. But at least now I have the awareness like, wow, I'm in a 2. Do I really want to stay in that state? Does it serve me? Or do I want to be more in a state where I feel much more neutral and grounded and can hold whatever's going on in a much more conscious way? So it's a decision every day to go through living your life more consciously and at cause versus the effect of others or of your beliefs. And there are processes you can do, but even just like right now, I used to literally, somebody would say something that would really hurt my feelings. It could crash me for days. I now will let it crash me. If it crashes me at all, it'll crash me for minutes
Right.
or sometimes seconds. I can't put a value on that gift in my life. I can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I really appreciate, one of the learnings I got from a great event called Business Mastery that's held by Tony Robbins. And what struck me was a statement that was made at that event that said, the most undervalued commodity in corporate America or in business today is energy. And said differently, it's your state, just like you said. And it's understanding, it's being able to tap into your passion. It's being able to maintain this state. It's being able to not be affected necessarily by your external environment in such a way that it disempowers you. And that's huge. I mean, again, we have our human experience. Again, we have the programs that we're running, and whether they're good programs or not, or whether they're empowering or not. It's really about understanding what those programs are, how they affect you, how they stop you, and being able to master that. And by pre-framing your time, if your awake time, by getting yourself in that state, as you say, which is a practice of masterminding, is critical. So it's sort of like you're warming up the engine for the day so that you'll run smoothly, versus just jumping out of bed, going to work, and being tackled by all these problems or challenges and not be ready for them.
We also talk to people, and I agree with that, Bart, about what are the top 3 things you want to get done for a day, and getting those done first. I mean, most people can't possibly do more than 3 to 5 top things. A lot of times, for me, if I get all 3 of my top 3 done every day, it's awesome. But I also want to get them done first right away. And then the third thing is that I think is helpful for everybody is I now work in 50-minute bursts. I want to have good concentrated energy for 50 minutes on one thing I'm focusing on. If it takes that amount of time, or let's say I'm making follow-up calls, I'll do that for 50 minutes. And then I get up, I take a break, I do some breath work. I might do a little bouncing. I might do a little energy tapping, but something to get me up into that higher level. And then I go into the next 50 minutes. And by chunking down to those things, I'm finding that my presence level is higher, my energy's higher, drinking enough water. I'm drinking some nice green tea right now. But all the studies have shown that performance increases dramatically if you're able to chunk into those smaller blocks and then give yourself the rest. Get up. So many of us sit down now so much. Just getting up and moving for 3 minutes makes a huge difference. They say that sitting is going to be the smoking of the 21st century. So
it's interesting you're just talking about that, because I just wrote a blog. I haven't published it yet, but to be even more specific, is that in nature and also within our own body system, there's all these rhythms, there's all these cycles, and you have like the circadian rhythm, which is 24-hour cycle. You have the menstrual cycle that all women are very familiar with. But then there's a cycle during the day, which is more than an hour, but less than 24. And they call the ultradian rhythms. Mm-hmm. And so our sleep cycles are typically 60 to 90 minutes, going through all the REM stages. And then, but also during the daytime, what you're actually talking about is also very specifically the ultradian rhythm of about 60 to 90 minute. You like the 50, which is right for you, where it's about the alertness, and then the alertness wanes down. So you have a peak and then you have a trough of what that concentration is. And without taking that 20-minute, and they suggest, some of the studies suggest 20 minutes, not just 3 minutes, but you take that 20-minute break and then you go back into, high focus. And then the key then is just to singularly stay focused on the one thing. Shut out all the other distractions. Shut off the phone, the emails, the Facebook, because you're right. You mentioned earlier, multitasking just doesn't work. The executive brain cannot handle, multiple complex tasks at the same time. And so it's a waste of time to think, that you can multitask and do so many different things all at once when you can't. And fulfillment is so much greater, achievement is so much greater, just as what you say, when you stay singularly focused. But what I really liked about what you shared with me in your mastermind group, which was huge, is the specific intention that you're going to want to have for the next period of time that you're working on. And for me, that was transformative, because it was very much an intention, an outcome, and then a primary focus that made the big difference.
Yep. Those three together, and there's some deep ways to deepen that. You can literally put yourself into states. You can put yourself into almost a kind of a higher state of consciousness using different forms of NLP anchoring, using visualizations, using symbols, using colors. You literally. And there will be times of the day that we all have our times when, I know my most productive creative work is between 6:30 in the morning and about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So I therefore try to schedule it during that time period. The period between like 4 and 6 can kind of be a little bit of a low for me. I get energized by people, so I try to make sure I'm on the phone with people or seeing people in person during those times. The other thing is that's true with this and with all consciousness is we all have to decide and learn about what we're truly the best at. What are we naturally is in the zone for us?
Right.
And Facebook is a great example where they do personality assessments and testing of what are people's natural strengths, where when you're doing it, it just seems easy and effortless. Talking to you right now for me is easy and effortless. So if you're not spending most of your job doing things that for you are easy or effortless, first find out what those things are. And then the second thing is go find a job that pays and values that.
Right.
At Facebook, they basically survey people for those, and then they ask them on a monthly basis, how much of your top 5 strengths, these things that for you are your own genius, your own level, that for you're really good at something, and for you it's just natural, it's in the flow, and it's awesome. And if employees are not doing those things a certain amount of time every day, they reallocate them if they like the employee. They literally will say, I'm sorry, you're only, hitting your key strengths 50% of the time. At Facebook, we want it to be a minimum of 70%. So here's 3 other job paths that we think might get that for you. And they're really smart because Facebook's hiring a couple thousand people a year, so they can't afford to lose good people. And they've also found through studies that when people are in their zone of excellence, in their zone of the genius, their work output, their employee satisfaction, their customer satisfaction, if they're consumer facing, they all go up. So state is part of it. But if I could be doing all the state management in the world, but if I had to spend 9 hours a day doing detail work by myself, I would go bananas, and that I'd have to leave that work.
And again, this is another example of what you're talking about is conscious leadership.
Yeah.
And where we just can consistently improve the environment, that's conducive for everyone involved, not just a special select group, which is still what happens, in today's world. Unfortunately, they come under the guise, yes, we're helping the world, but really they're just helping themselves. And this is truly an example. And I love, the company Google, what they're doing, because it's really about taking care of their employees so that they can function, optimally, have a great lifestyle, have a great place, be able to be creative, be able to have a really good life. And I think that's awesome.
And if you haven't done it, for everybody that ever listens to this, please go to Amazon as soon as this is over. Buy StrengthsFinder 2.0. It includes a free strengths assessment. Its book costs like $20-25, and you will learn your top 5 or top 10 core strengths. I think you pay an extra $10 to learn the more complete thing, your strengths, because it's again part of being conscious leader is knowing what you're really good at and knowing what you're not, and really mostly focusing on that. With NLP, we can certainly help make people better at things they weren't great at before. But when you're spending time in your natural zone, natural gift place, and I'd say that 9 out of 10 business professionals that I talk to are not really clear on what their main core strengths are and how much of their time they're spending doing what they're best at.
So that's what StrengthsFinder what?
StrengthsFinder 2.0. I think it's called Finding Your Core Strengths. but it is that the actual test is Strengths Finder 2.0. And when you buy the book, inside the book, you'll get a code for your unique quiz. I think you can take the quiz without the book, but the book is nice, and it sort of tells you what to do once you know what your strengths are and ideal careers. And it's much more scientific than the old generation of stuff like what color is my parachute. I mean, this is really pretty accurate assessing, what are you really, really good at,
right,
and see how much of your time you're spending doing it. I can almost guarantee, almost to a one-to-one, one of our other members of our group is a real personality assessment. If you're not super happy in your job, you probably are not accessing your core strengths enough of the time.
And I'm going to wrap it up now, and I just answered that for me, because I'm in a really unique position as a plastic surgeon. I'm my own boss, really, and I can really do what I want. And I made a very conscious decision this year to really stay at that 70-80%, of being dialed into what I'm really passionate about. And for example, this platform right now, interviewing you, is what I'm really passionate about. I'm passionate about helping others with their personal transformation. And that's the coolest thing for me. And so, I encourage, just like you said, find that place where you find that happiness, because you really do deserve that. And the last, say 50 years of my life were really in preparation for me to be able to be dialed in. And I share with people, don't wait that long, find it sooner. And it sounds like the millennials have been more quickly dialed into that. So I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation, talking to this amazing genius, Mitchell Stefko. He's a conscious leader, an entrepreneur, a Silicon Valley high growth expert, and really excited to have talked to you today. It's been really refreshing to hear, these kinds of thoughts, these kinds of ideas. I think these are going to be elemental to our future. And remind us, for people to find you, where would they go?
Yeah, just go to theconsciouslm.com. We have a great free strategy, how Disney created all of his products, that will give everybody that signs up for our newsletter. And then our newsletter will turn you on to our webinar series to talk to other conscious leaders. I also work very selectively with a few high growth entrepreneurs that have successful scaled businesses, typically between 10 and 100 million in revenues, that are looking to implement conscious leadership strategies, either in growth financing or sale of their business or among their senior management team. And I'm happy to chat with anybody with businesses in that size or larger that may be interested in how they can apply more of this to what they're doing.
And I'm also really excited about, your webinar series and your mastermind groups that you're working on. And so if people want more information with that, keep an eye on.
Bart is a member of our high-level Conscious Leaders Mastermind, which is between 20 and 30 amazing leaders from 7 or 8 different industries and from 7 countries. Our new group starting up in June. We are interviewing new folks, and if you go to the Conscious LM site, you can also check that out as well. We're always looking for amazing new people that are changing the world and want to be part of our group.
And can you share some future webinars that are coming up, or special people that will be, in this series?
Well, I know I'm going to be interviewing. I just got a confirmation with Dr. John Gray, his 50 million books, Mars, Venus. He's been a member of our group, was a founding member of the Mastermind. Barney Pell, who is the guy that essentially invented the precursor to Bing, company called PowerSet, and sold it to Microsoft. Very successful exit, and multiple angel entrepreneur that's helped invested in over 30 companies and helped co-found Moon Express, which is going to be putting a lunar rover on the moon in 2 years. So we're going to be interviewing a number of people from our group and a number of top thought leaders in conscious leadership, and also a lot of CEOs that are actually out in the field, applying conscious leadership into their companies and making a bigger difference every day.
Right. So the way to a great future is, this conscious leadership, being part of Mastermind. Connect with Mitchell Stefko on consciouslm.com. And Mitchell, great. Thanks for today. And I look very much forward to continuing this conversation. This is one of my best conversations so far on Blab. I love it. I love this generative and collaborative space. And really this platform, so that people really understand, is for people to get access to new voices and new solutions. And it's really about what you don't know, you don't know. And the purpose here then is helping people find out, what they don't know, and make the shift, make the changes, make new decisions, and make new connections, and make a connection with you. So thanks very much, Mitchell.
Great, Bart. Be well, and I look forward to seeing you soon, brother.
Absolutely. Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.